Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Eric with SweetSpotDFS, and welcome to my DFS strategy video for the 2022 Valspar Championship. Hopefully you're able to watch the preview video I put out Sunday night, as I went over a lot of the pieces required to find the optimal lineup. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll provide a link top right hand corner. Go watch it, come back here, and you'll have a better understanding of the players that I'll be selecting throughout this video. Now, I do have to admit that preview was not complete. Large part of it has to do with the fact the Players' Championship didn't end until Monday afternoon, which means salaries didn't come out until Tuesday, today. And I usually like to talk about the finishes at the tournament just prior to the one I'm talking about. So obviously that was the Players this week. Couldn't do that. So a large part of that preview, I just had to skip because I couldn't talk about any of that information. I'll incorporate it into this video though. And of course, my strategies, what I like to talk about here are my rankings, the SweetSpot ranks, the Marquee tee times, and the anchor buckets, which are the buckets we want to be selecting golfers from. And of course, I will also build some lineups at the end, but like I said, I'll incorporate those missing pieces into this video. But before we get into any of that, I'll remind you guys about giveaways that I do during the week. I like to reward my subscribers, especially those that like to participate on the channel. So if you'd like a free entry to win $10 this week, be subscribed and comment down below your 2 favorite golfers you're going to be anchoring your lineups around this week. And I'll get you into an entry to a $10 giveaway. Now, there's a caveat to this. We need to reach a goal of 320 subscribers. We are only 4 subscribers away from that. So if you're one of the, the few, or I shouldn't say the few, half of my audience is not yet subscribed to this channel. So if you're one of those people, please do so. Comment down below your favorite golfers you're anchoring your lineup around, and you're going to have a shot to win $10. It's as simple as that. Like I said, I like to reward the subscribers of the channel. The other giveaway that I like to do is a Prize Picks giveaway. I am partnered with Prize Picks. So if you use the promo code SweetSpot when you sign up and you put at least $20 into your account, I'm going to give you $20. So you have the opportunity to play this for free if you're in a state that allows it. There is a link in the description below that'll get you straight to that sign up page with this promo code already populated. So if you want a chance to play this for free, sign up with that promo code, put $20 into your account. I will then send you $20 the next day or maybe the day after. And by the way, Prize Picks is going to match your deposit up to $100. So that's what every content creator that is partnered with Prize Picks says. Deposit match up to $100. Sounds great, right? But nobody else is giving you money to sign up. So pass on the word. Let's get as many people signed up with that promo code as possible. Hopefully somewhere in the future, we'll run some competitions based off of those that actually did sign up with that. Again, I'm going to give you $20 just for doing that. Super simple. Again, link in the description below. There are 2 other giveaways that I'm doing that just requires your participation as well. Actually, one of them is just a link in the description that gives you to the cheat sheet that I'll be going over throughout this video. But the other one is the optimizer that I'll be using to build lineups at the end. There are a lot of functions with this, and I'm actually going to link a video to in the description as well that explains how to use this optimizer, and it will cover everything that this optimizer provides. There's a lot. You get to manage your lineups just from the lineups tab. You can manage how many combinations of golfers that you have. I should say this. I should open this up right here because this is hidden from you. But it'll tell you which golfer of yours is most commonly matched with another one in case you worry about that kind of stuff. I do. I usually find myself combining the same golfers way too many times. So that's available. You also can save your lineups to a contest page and randomize it. So depending on how you like to enter your lineups, whether you want no bias in it whatsoever, you can do it through this way. And it'll also tell you how much money you've invested into a player, the max amount of investment, and it also shows you your ownership. So it's super helpful that way. I also have the bucket system here, so you can kind of take a look at this, determine who you want to anchor your players around. You also have a dream sheet added to it. This is your cheat sheet. I call it the dream sheet because it adds all the information that I care about. It's available for you guys. And if you want this optimizer, you just got to follow the subscriber giveaway criteria. Be subscribed, comment down below in the comment section. But one added piece, you're gonna have to reach out to me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com, because I can't see your email address. Most of you guys I can't. Some of you guys make it public, and I can do that, but I mean, like 99% of you guys have it private, so I can't see it. So you're gonna have to email me saying you want this optimizer, which actually leads me to another thing. I do like to reward all new subscribers, top commenters, that kind of stuff, all like on this bar right here. If you subscribed and your name is not showing, it's because you have private settings. You've set it so no one can see who you're subscribed to. I can't see if you're subscribed to me. It's only the people that have it public that allow it. So if it's something you care about, you know, maybe switch those settings, or prove to me that you're subscribed to me, and I'll put your name there if you want to see your name there. I don't think there's any pettiness behind that. I honestly, you know, it's the least that us content creators can do. So hey, I don't mind showcasing all the people that are signing up, because I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So if you want your name to show up, you know, just screenshot it to me. If you haven't seen it on here, I will certainly put it on there, or just change your settings, one of the two. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's get into this strategy video, and we're going to start with the rankings, the SweetSpot rankings. So let me go ahead and put a filter on this, and we're going to look at our top 20 golfers that are ranked. So I have them on the screen. You guys can see that. Screenshot this if you like. Again, the cheat sheet's available, so actually you can just follow along with me. Open that cheat sheet on one of your other monitors. You know, if you're at a computer, do it that way. And then if you don't have another monitor, your phone's a great place to watch YouTube as well. So you could set this up and you can go through it with me. But the SweetSpot ranks this week. I don't know why I said but. There's no reason to. I am omitting grass stats. The overseed we saw at the Players Championship is basically the same overseed you have here. I do remember this tournament having a little bit more POA preference. You know, you want to be looking at POA stats, but I won't lie. It's really difficult to determine what the overseed's going to do. I think you can lump this in with every other tournament that has overseed, especially on Bermuda grass. That doesn't mean anything, by the way. When it's overseed on Bermuda, Bermuda's non-existent. So don't look at Bermuda stats. Please, for the life of me, do not look at Bermuda stats. And I listened to Rick Rungood talk about this. He goes, people will fight you on Twitter tooth and nail. Well, that's only because when people are making, you know, definitive statements saying this is Bermuda, you're wrong. You should just not talk about it. You know, if you say this is Bermuda, you shouldn't say that if you don't want criticism. So the fact of the matter is, if there's overseed, there's no like base layer grass, and the PGA Tour would not allow that type of inconsistency to be on the greens. Like, that would be kind of crazy. So these greens are going to be straight POA. There's not going to be any mix of Bermuda in there. So you could look up POA splits. But I mean, it's a very young POA. It's not like it's something that has been growing for a long time, and usually grass doesn't really need to grow that long to take up its traits. But I personally don't even like to look at POA splits either. It's too difficult, honestly. And although I say definitively there's no Bermuda here, there could be some strains of grass growing through. There could be. It's just not going to be prevalent. Your Bermuda profile is it's a super grainy grass, and that grain affects how the ball rolls, depending if it's down grain or into the grain. If that's not a profile at this golf course on these greens, you just don't look at it. That's why you don't look at Bermuda stats. Just don't do it. Don't do it. You can at golf courses that have overseed on them, you know, like anything in the southern hemisphere, not hemisphere, sorry, the southern part of the states, you know, during the months of March and earlier, you can certainly use those tournaments as kind of your gauge as to how well players play on this type of grass surface. But I'm avoiding it. I don't think I don't think there's a really good tell. So that's omitted from my rankings. But what I am including is official world golf ranking, course history, bogey avoidance, birdie or better, recent form stats for DraftKings points, finishing position, and their round by round scoring averages. I am also looking at season long DraftKings points, so DraftKings average, scoring average, rounds under 70%, cut made percentage, and DK top 10%. That all creates a score, and based off that score, you can see a rank over here. I just like to show you the difference between 1, 2, and 3. 957 for Justin Thomas. Oh, wait, whoa. This is not correct. I did this in the other video that because I don't have a filter all the way over there, it actually adds it incorrectly. It'd be really weird if your top ranked guy didn't have the highest score. So you can see Victor Hovland 957.02, Justin Thomas 936, and then it drops down to Colin Morikawa. So Victor Hovland is by far and away my top rated golfer at this event. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to absolutely stick to my guns and just play Victor Hovland in all of my lineups. I'm gonna let the buckets dictate which golfer I should choose. I do know just by creating a couple lineups with the optimizer, it does like Victor Hovland quite a bit. I have to force it to look at Justin Thomas or Colin Morikawa in order to build those lineups. But I'm just going to put a, max exposure to him, and I'm never going to own him more than what that max exposure is going to be. So even if the optimizer wants to select him, it's not going to happen. But anyways, you can see kind of the drop off, and then it's pretty tight for a while. Actually, it's pretty tight all the way down. So those are the rankings, the scores, I should say. But when we look at the ranks, what I like to do is like identify misplays, or misvalues. Like Dustin Johnson, he's 10,200 on the salary board. He did have a really good finish at the Players Championship. He shot a 63 on Sunday, backdoored his way into a top 10. Dustin Johnson could be back. A lot of my stats are looking at recent form, which he's been pretty miserable, pretty terrible at, or terrible with. So him being 10,200, he's ranked 13th on my model. Whereas you got like Louis Oosthuizen, Abram Ancer, Sam Burns, all ahead of him that are cheaper than him. And actually even more golfers here. You have Keegan Bradley at $8,400, who's also better ranked than Dustin Johnson. Now, he's an elite caliber golfer. I'm not going to say you should play Dustin Johnson over Keegan Bradley, but it's just worth noting. Like when I look at this, again, if we were like to sort by the salary leaderboard, 8,500 is my last salary that you can see on the screen. So if I rank by, the SweetSpot rank, anything lower than 8,500 on this page that you see, to me is a value. So Mito Pereira, chalk him down as a value. Webb Simpson, Kevin Kisner, their values. Patton Kazire is a value. Cameron Tringali is a value. Keegan Bradley, we just kind of poked fun at here. He's a value. And then obviously some of these other guys that are above 8,500, like Brooks Koepka, Tommy Fleetwood, Bubba Watson, Jason Day. These guys are a little lower on my rankings. So maybe not so much value there. That does not mean, let me just make this clear, that does not mean don't play them. It's just, with my model, with my rankings, and that's the other thing to also get at. It's not like my model is perfect. Every time I build lineups using the bucket system and stuff like that, all the bucket criteria, the buckets hit, but my lineups don't. And that has a lot to do with my rankings. So most of the time, what I want from these rankings is to get 4 of these guys inside the top 20 in the optimal lineup. And I think I'm at like a 50% clip of doing that week in and week out. So there's a good chance we might see 4 golfers from this list here produce optimal lineup guys. So we'll see. It all depends. I don't know if taking grass stats out are going to be the right thing to do. If I had done it at the Players Championship last week, I think it would have been much better than using those grass stats. So we'll see. I'm intrigued. I'm interested. Now the rankings lead to marquee tee times. And if you are not aware what that is, basically what I like to do is take the field number the golfers, the amount of golfers in the field, which this week is 144. I like to multiply that by a percentage. And it's just an arbitrary number. It's a fun number for me because it's a good number in golf. I multiply it by 59%. So 144 multiplied by 59%, it gets you a number of 180 or of 85. Sorry, 85. 144 times 59% is 85 points. So if I look at each pairing, so you can see the game number over here. If we look at each three of those golfers and we add up their sweet spot ranks, if the number is 85 or lower, I'm actually going to highlight them this dark green color that you see on the screen. That indicates they're a part of the Marquee Tee Time pairing. You can also see this, like if I sort this by salaries on the cheat sheet, that just means all of the guys that you see with the rankings actually colored, those are a part of the Marquee Tee Times. Now, why does that matter? Why is that a big deal? Since I've been tracking it, on average, we see around 2 of these guys in the optimal lineup every single week. And also while tracking it, one thing I've noticed is golfers from the same group are highly unlikely to be in the optimal lineup together. So in this very first one of Dustin Johnson, Jason Day, and Bubba Watson, they might provide 2 top 10 finishers in here. So you might get one with DJ and Jason Day, but they're not going to be in the optimal lineup together. It's going to be like Dustin Johnson and say Abraham Answer. It's going to be in a different group. So yeah, I would select, like I said, I would select like a Dustin Johnson, and then I would look at a different group that isn't the one that Dustin Johnson's in and pair them up together. If you built enough lineups, you could go through all the different combinations of 2-man groups throughout all of this. The other thing that I've also noticed with these Marquee Tee Times throughout, this last year is based on the number or the amount of Marquee Tee Times will also affect the success that we find golfers in the optimal lineup from. So like I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Marquee Tee Times. You divide that in half, that gets you into 3. We're bound to see, I think it's a good chance we're going to see 3 guys in the optimal lineup from the screen you see here. So I would then just select all the golfers that I like, in different groups, put them together, and then let the optimizer build lineups from there. And that's what I'm going to focus on in this video when we build lineups, is just grabbing golfers from here and then just seeing what the optimizer selects. I'm not going to spend too much time building lineups, but I just want to show you how I would do it. A large percentage of optimal lineups have 2 golfers from the Marquee Tee Times. Doesn't matter how many Marquee Tee Times there are. My lowest rate, so as long as I have more than 4 groups in the Marquee Tee Times, I'm expecting at least 2 guys in the optimal lineup. So that's just the other thing to add. I think minimum we see 2 guys in the optimal lineup from the players you see on the screen. At max, I think we'll see 4. So you really have to make some decisions. Like I wouldn't put Adam Schenk like with Justin Thomas, Jason Kokrak. I'm trying to find like a low priced. How about this? We won't choose Justin Thomas. We'll go like Bubba Watson, Abraham Answer, Jason Kokrak, sure, Adam Schenk, and say Gary Woodland. I would never put those 5 golfers together. I think that would be wasting, potential lineups to hit the optimal lineup. We're never going to see more like 5 golfers from this list be in the optimal lineup. So that's why I like the sweet spot process. It just limits the amount of combinations you can create, which just makes lineup building easier. So my suggestion to you guys that are watching this, pick 2 golfers from on here. Not in the same group, but pick 2 golfers, anchor your lineups around them. You're going to have a good chance to find the optimal lineup that way, or starting your lineups towards the optimal lineup. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that. I'm not going to talk about some of these guys. We'll just save that when it comes to lineup building. So from here, what I want to do is talk about the anchor buckets. Now, here, let me get the color. I just want to be prepared for when we build lineups. Maybe I should have just kept it. Anyways, from here, I want to talk about the anchor buckets. So we weren't able to talk about some of the buckets in our preview video. like we just talked about last year in course history buckets. So we didn't talk about last week buckets. Let me take some of these filters off. I kind of got ahead of myself. Okay. So we talked about last year and course history buckets all in the preview video, but we weren't able to talk about last week, recent form, salary, or strokes gains buckets because we didn't have the Players Championship, all of those stats updated, or stats from that tournament updated into our process. So let's go ahead and just talk about these really quickly. When it comes to the last week buckets, now this is, if you're new to the channel, I like to basically use the two columns that I have highlighted here, the min projection, the max projection, and kind of just look at the buckets to determine, you know, what's the likelihood we're going to have a top 10 finisher or a golfer in the optimal lineup from these buckets based off these projections. We always round down in this bucket here. I just like to show you the round or the raw number just so you can see it for your own visual evidence, but we always round down. So in this very first bucket, this last week one bucket, it reads 1.19 for the minimum. We round that down to 1, and then it's 1.99 for the maximum. We round that up. Yeah, we're not rounding it up much, but it goes to 2. So how it would read is we expect to see one golfer from this bucket inside the top 10, and we expect to see maybe a max of 2. Now, I kind of also have like a secondary rule that goes with this. If this number is not greater than 2, I automatically drop the minimum projection to 0. I've seen it too many times. It's too narrow of a gap. It's really hard to hit, but I do feel confident the max is 2. I'm just not confident the minimum is 1. But you guys can go with however you want. Bucket system is usually 93% correct. Like it's usually 33 out of 36 buckets correct, or it's 34 out of 36. So it's entirely up to you. So when it looks at the last week buckets, your top buckets really are golfers who actually missed the cut at the tournament just prior. So obviously we're looking at the Players Championship. That would be a good one. A good bucket to choose from. So those that missed the cut, like Matthew Fitzpatrick, Colin Morikawa, guys like that, I think are, you know, they're just in a bucket that's already going to be good to select from. And you can kind of see like the min maxes. So, you know, has it happened at least once every year? No, that's not true because this says 0. The max is up to 5 though. So that's good. If you want to build almost your entire lineup with just golfers who missed the cut last week, by all means go do it because the max is 5. However, we can go to the optimal lineups here. So if I highlight this row and these columns here, you can see the minimum for optimal lineups for this bucket is 0. So it's happened where there have been 0 golfers in this bucket to be in the optimal lineup, but it has had a max up to 3. So I kind of like lean in between 3 and 5 and kind of like figure out based off the projections, you know, how comfortable do I feel selecting a golfer from this bucket. For golfers who miss a cut, I think it's around 3. I think I want around 3 golfers in my lineup from that bucket. So that's how that all reads. And I spent more time on the last week buckets than I'm going to on the following ones. But yeah, you want missed cuts, maybe 1 to 2 golfers who did not play, perhaps 1 to 2 golfers who topped 20 last week, and then you can mix and match however you want. But I think the only for certain is, you know, grabbing at least 2 golfers who missed the cut last week. A bare minimum of 1, but 2 is likely your minimum. So I like that. Going to recent forms, or the recent form buckets, your top buckets are the ranges between 20 to 40 and 40 to 60. So you can find 2 golfers, or I should say, I mean, you can see the minimum is 1 to 4 for recent form bucket 2s and 2 to 4 for recent form 3s. Now, if you're using the cheat sheet, that's all of these columns right here. So if you want to look at recent forms, I mean, first of all, go to the filter. Can you see that? Oh, you guys can't see it. It's right up here though. There's a little filter button. Hit that filter, go to like whatever I have. It's named DraftKings. That's the filter that I created. And just filter out 1s and 2s, or not 1s and 2s, 2s and 3s. So I can go to 3s and you can see your top guys are from here just by filtering that out. Same goes with twos. So you can see your main golfers from that. And we'll talk about this with the anchor buckets as well. But yeah, your twos and your threes, you could make a full lineup just with golfers from here. Now, like, one of these is going to be our anchor buckets because there's only 16 golfers in that bucket, in that recent form twos. You do want to select from there. It looks pretty good. We'll talk about this recent form one. I just saw it for the first time. Like, let's just do it right now. So you have Justin Thomas, Tyrrell Hatton, Shane Lowry, and Mark Hensby. Now, you could just disregard Mark Hensby. That's a golfer we don't have to care about. But the other three golfers here, when you look at the buckets, I'm projecting somewhere between 0 to 1. And it's not even a full 1%. There's a 4% chance that this bucket doesn't even produce a recent form or a golfer inside the top 10, which is concerning because Justin Thomas is a part of it. So if you like Thomas, Hatton, Lowry, I'm telling you right now, don't pair them up together because the buckets don't even, like, the bucket doesn't even tell you you should. Like, it isn't good. And we can look at, you know, we've seen a max of 2 in this bucket being inside the top 10. We've seen 0 guys in the optimal lineup. So I'll highlight that again. 0 guys in the optimal lineup. 0%, 0 min, 0 max. Not a bucket you want to play with. So maybe we don't look at Justin Thomas. It's a good reason maybe to fade him. But yeah, those are your recent forms. Salaries, it looks like you want to play a 10K, a 9K, and then it's just from there you just fill in the rest. Like, usually the 7K range is pretty high. You can see we've seen at least 2 inside the top 10 every single year. We've also seen at least 2 inside the optimal lineup every single year. We talked about that in the preview video. But this year, because the strength of field is pretty low, because I also keep track of that right here, it's pretty low for that bucket. We don't have as many as we usually do. We have 33 as compared to 45. Who knows? We might not see that many. So maybe you do a 10-9-8 or maybe a 10-9-9 and maybe 1-7 and 2 6s or maybe 3 6s. Like, this might be the week to do stars and scrubs. When it comes to strokes gain stats, I've explained this a lot in my videos. I do it a little bit differently. So I really just focus on off the tee and putting. Approach is important, don't get me wrong. But I stuck with the off the tee because that is what determines approach stats, believe it or not. And if you aren't aware, let me just do a quick dive on that. If you hit the ball off the tee, say 330 yards in the middle of the fairway all the time, and you stuck your irons from wherever distance you have away to about like 12 feet, which is way inside the tour average on proximity, you would only gain like 1 stroke at most on approach because you're hitting everything into the fairway and you have short distances into the green because of how far you hit it. So just based off the tee stats, your approach stats are going to be affected by whatever you do off the tee. If you hit it into the rough and you only hit it 280 yards and you're hitting it into the rough, you're gonna have long approaches in from the rough, which is much more difficult on tour to get close to the hole. If you stuck to all of those shots to 12 feet, your approach stats look amazing. So there is unless you're doing a deep dive on your strokes gain stats to try to figure out who's really gaining on approach through a skill level as opposed to like a luck level. And again, I mean that based off of how far you hit it. Like, let's say if Bryson DeChambeau is gaining strokes on approach, he's probably obliterating the entire field in a tournament because of how far he hits the ball. But let's say a Ches Reavie, he goes out there and he gains like 3 strokes on approach. That looks really good, but that's what we should expect because he doesn't hit the ball super far. And it's not like he's super accurate either. Well, he's more accurate than most. But if he's putting his approach shots into 8 feet, his approach stats are going to look really, really, really good compared to someone like Dustin Johnson. So keep all that in mind. That's why I use off the tee stats. And then putting is just a fun stat to mix with it. Maybe I should change it to approach stats. I just been doing the putting for a long time. It seems to work out pretty well. But anyway, strokes gain 1, all stats positive. Strokes gain 2, positive off the tee, positive putting with a negative approach or a negative around the green. Strokes gained 3 is positive off the tee, negative putting. It doesn't matter what the stats are in between. Strokes gained 4, negative off the tee, positive putting. Doesn't matter about the stats in between. Strokes gained 5, negative off the tee, negative putting. And again, does not matter about the strokes gained in between. Again, that's your approach around the green. And strokes gained 6, no strokes gained stats. So you can see you want somewhere between 1 to 2, 1 to 3, all within those top 3 strokes gained. These are your elite golfers just to begin with. I usually like to keep my eye out for these numbers down here, because if they are pretty large, that means you can kind of mix and match. But it looks like you want really good ball strikers, which doesn't surprise me, especially at an event like this. The better off the tee, the better golfer you're going to get. So you can see all of it there. Now let's go ahead. Let's get into these anchor buckets. What I like to do, and you guys have access to this because it's a part of the cheat sheet. You do have access to this sheet right here. I like to go filter by condition, greater than or equal to 0.9. I just like to allow, some wiggle room. I don't want it just to be a strict 1, but I do kind of want it to be 1. So when I do that, we're going to see a lot of the buckets disappear. We're stuck with some of these. We're stuck with a good chunk of buckets still. But from here, what I want to do is even filter more. I want this to be greater than or equal to 2. So it just makes me feel more confident if this max number is up to 2 or greater. There's a higher likelihood we're going to see a golfer from that bucket finish inside the top 10. Now, if you want to go even further into it, you can look at your optimal lineups, and you can see the minimums there. I don't really recommend that. You could also go by your top 10s and filter out any of those that are zeros, so you can see, really which ones show up inside the top 10 more often than not. I like to go by how many golfers are in the bucket this year for this field that we have currently. The smaller the number of golfers in the bucket with the projections you see means the higher likelihood we're gonna be able to pinpoint the golfer you want to choose in your lineup. So I don't even have to put a condition on there. There's only 3 buckets that I can filter out, but I would go less than 20. And it really, what it does is unfortunately doesn't give us super good buckets to select from. We've got recent form 2s and then 2 salary buckets and a strokes gained bucket. So that really doesn't help. Like the recent form 2s it does, because there's only 16 golfers in that bucket. And why don't we just take a look at that right now? We go to recent form 2s. We want somewhere between 1 to 4. So it's almost 2. The minimum's almost 2. So I'm feeling like we want to explore somewhere between 2 and 3 golfers from this bucket. So when we look at this list, well, we've got 3 10K golfers. Here, there we go. We have 3 10K golfers and a plethora of 9K golfers. Well, 4 of them. So 7 golfers that are 9K and above. You're probably going to want to start your lineups here. But in case you didn't care for that and you want to look at some of these golfers down here, there's an interesting choice of golfers. Like Vaughn Taylor, he's an okay 6K golfer to consider. Pat Perez, 37th in my model, 6,900. So Pat Perez looks like a good candidate. Matthias Schwab, he shows up in the optimizer quite a bit, like when I create those lineups. Nick Taylor, Christian Bezuidenhout, Russell Knox, Keegan Bradley, Alex Noren, and Jason Day all round out all golfers underneath 9,000. These are going to be easier golfers to build your lineups around. But if I'm being honest, I don't like any of them. Like I do like Jason Day. I think this is a really good track for him to play at. Same goes with like Alex Noren. He's 10th in my model. But I just don't feel confident. A lot of these guys, I think in the past, have screwed me when it comes to rostering them. Jason Day was blacklisted for a really long time. Keegan Bradley was blacklisted for a while. Russell Knox, I just don't really care for all that much when it comes to roster. I mean, he had a really good player's performance, but he frustrates me more than most guys, because when he's like a low 7K price, he just disappoints more often than he actually rewards you. So I would stick with golfers up here. That's just my own personal preference. I don't mind starting a few of my lineups, or most of my lineups, with like Victor Hovland or Xander or DJ. I'm kind of like flirting around with DJ. There's a couple lineups I can build that I really like with DJ. But but I really don't care. You know, I don't mind going back to a Matt Fitzpatrick. And again, we want somewhere between 1 to 4 of these guys. So if you don't like most of these, just select one. Like, select at least one. Personally, I'm going to select 3, I think. I wouldn't mind going DJ, Fitzpatrick, Jason Day, and going from there. I want to double check. Oh, you cannot put DJ and Jason Day together. They're in the same group. So I guess I would not do that. Maybe then I do go down to like a Keegan Bradley or a Christian Bezuidenhout or a Matthias Schwab. Like, I don't mind Matthias Schwab. We can go ahead and select someone like him. But yeah, that's how I do it. Something similar to that. So that's really the only bucket to talk about. Like strokes gained 1, sure, we can bring some of those guys up. And it's all color coded. So the whole cheat sheet is color coded based off of the strokes gained buckets. So your strokes gained 1s are those that have all stats positive. That's off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting. And there's Xander. I mean, we were just talking about Xander. We were just talking about Louis. So maybe you go 10K, 9K with those 2 guys and go from there. Alex Norton is also there with your recent form 2s. So you could select Xander, and he would fulfill the recent form 2 bucket as well as the strokes gained bucket. So really, that gives you flexibility to choose golfers outside of that, because obviously the anchor buckets, you want to select at least one of them, or at least one golfer from those buckets. Xander actually fulfills the 10K bucket. He fulfills the recent form 2 bucket. He fulfills the strokes gained 1 bucket. So if we go back to here, you know, our minimum is 1 for each of these buckets. So boom, he covers all of them. So he would be a good choice to select. And then our 9K, you know, we could go with Louis. And he also would combine to add to these other buckets. So now we have 2, which means like 2 strokes gained 1s. We have a 9K golfer now. We have a 10K golfer, and now we have 2 recent form 2 golfers in that bucket. And then we probably just leave those 4 buckets alone and try to find 4 golfers elsewhere. Now, it's really difficult with just 4 anchor buckets. I really do like to get down to 4 anchor buckets, but the fact of the matter is, when 2 of them are salary buckets, it doesn't really help us narrow down our player pools. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to remove this filter here that's greater than or equal to 2 and see if we see more. Okay, now it opens it up to 2 more salary buckets, which I really don't care for. But we can look at last week 1s and last week 6s. So top 20s from last week and did not plays. And the did not plays, it's a very large bucket, so we wouldn't be looking at those. You can get rid of that one. That one. So, but we can still look at last week 1s. There's only 9 golfers from there, and we want somewhere between 1 to 2, but in reality, to me, it's 0 to 2. So Victor Hovland shows up there. We already talked about him. DJ, same thing. A lot of these guys we already talked about. Keegan Bradley's there. Now, here's the other thing. Don't select more than 2 of these guys. That's the other beauty of it. So if you're looking at your recent form 2 buckets, and I say you want to pick 3 of them, well, now you get to remove some of these guys from there. Based off of, you know, the maximum for this bucket being 2. Now, you can all do that with your eyeballs all you want. That's going to get annoying. Trust me, I've built lineups that way. It's extremely annoying. To me, when I'm providing this information for you guys, it's just to get you onto 2 guys. Which 2 guys do you want to build your lineups around? Looking at the anchor buckets and some of the other ones. So that, to me, should help in a way. You can see all the salaries you probably want to build your lineups around, all that stuff. But to make it all easier, ask for the optimizer. The optimizer is going to do all this work for us because it looks at all of this bucket conditional information here. So you can see the salaries. I already have the 2 salaries we want to build our lineups around. I have the strokes gain stats that you also want to build your lineups around. Let me double check with strokes gain 3. I don't know if that's actually. Oh, there was 38 golfers in that bucket. That's why we didn't talk about it being an anchor bucket. But anyways, We want that bucket to select golfers from. So I did that with all of the buckets. I put all the minimums based off of, you know, what the summary, the bucket system tells us. And then from here, all you got to do is hit run optimizer and it's going to do all of that. Plus, I also have all the group numbers down here. We don't want more than one from the same group. I have all the groups numbered here based off the marquee tee times. I basically picked the top 10 groups based off of rankings and I added them here. I unfortunately can't do more than that. Believe it or not, there are 200 maximum conditions you can put into an optimizer for Excel. And I have reached the max, so I can't do anymore. So I'm limited to 10 groups. That's what I'm limited to. So the top 10 groups is what I have in place. So you hit run optimizer and it's going to incorporate everything that we talked about in the anchor buckets, just the buckets in general, the tee time pairings, all that stuff. It's going to include all of that. And it spits out this lineup here. This is the most optimal lineup based off of the metric that I have. So my sweet spot ranks. So Hovland, Sam Burns, Cameron Tringali, Matthias Schwab, we talked about him, Mito Pereira, and Joel Damon are all a part of my optimal lineup. Now, I told you Victor Hovland's going to show up a lot. But if you wanted to look at a Colin Morikawa lineup, actually, why don't we talk about DJ? Because DJ was one that I wanted to build lineups around. You just hit Y under the lock button. And so it's going to look at DJ. He's in group 1. So is Jason Day and Bubba Watson. So Jason Day and Bubba Watson, they're also in group 1. But because I have the conditionals down here set to max of 1, I'm not going to select those 2 golfers. So it's just going to be DJ. So if I run the optimizer, this is what's going to give me the best DJ lineup. And that's going to include Abram Anser, Keegan Bradley, Mito Pereira, Joel Damon, Charlie Hoffman. A lot of these guys are going to continue to show up because they are really good values at their price tag. You know, their metric is really high compared to their price tag. If you wanted to like take some of these guys out, Mito Pereira, Joel Damon, you just scroll down to wherever their name is, just hit no. You can see some of this is already being populated based off of the unique build that I put in place. So I have logic that's just going to build unique builds for you. These are all going to be hit with no's. You can select all of this and just hit the delete button and then run optimize again. That way you can select some of the guys that they exclude, the optimizer excluded. But Mito Pereira we wanted as a no. And we also wanted Joel Damon as a no. Already forgot. There he is. So I'm telling the optimizer, don't select those 2 golfers. Run another one with DJ. I want to see who you provide me with. Sam Burns, Jason Kokrak, Sahith Thagala, Carlos Ortiz, Troy Merritt. So Merritt's going to be showing up quite a bit. But let's say you don't like DJ. We can go ahead and do a Colin Morikawa lineup without Mito Pereira and without Joel Damon. And there you go. Matthias Schwab shows up again. Charlie Hoffman shows up again. And so does Troy Merritt. But that unique lineup builder is going to actually remove Hoffman from the next one that I hit optimize with. And we can see what it builds. So it brings in Keegan Bradley, Lonto Griffin, still has Troy Merritt. I can go down to Troy Merritt and say, nope, I don't want Troy Merritt. Hit the no here, run optimize one more time. I'm not going to go further than this, just showing you what it all looks like with those guys. Maybe I'll give you a JT lineup. Sure, I can do that. But Pat Perez joins now with Johnny Vegas and Brian Harmon, and there's Louis Oosthuizen. And one more with Justin Thomas. Again, this is available for you guys. If you want this optimizer, be subscribed, comment down below your 2 favorite golfers you're building your lineups around. Reach out to me on email, SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. Let me know you're interested in this, and I will send it your way. But this would be the last one with Justin Thomas. So it looks like Burns, Tringali, and Schwab shows up a lot. Maybe we should get rid of Schwab just to see who his replacement would be. There you go. Whole new lineup. Thomas, Oosthuizen, Bradley, Vegas, Taylor Moore, Dylan Wu. I do have in this column, these are the max exposures based off of the buckets. So what I do with exposures first and foremost is just kind of look at just a formula, like a calculation that it provides me of the most, like the ownership you want the most on a guy. Colin Morikawa's at 10%. I'm probably going to bump that up manually. Like, I think he's a really good play. Like, it would be stupid not to play him, you know, more than this. And Xander Schauffele at 39%. I don't really feel comfortable with that, so I'm going to bump that one down. You yourselves out there, when you get this optimizer, you can change this information. All of this on the screen can all be changed. Now, I can't guarantee you if you change it too far, it won't break on you, because I have it set up to look at this stuff through a certain lens. But anyways, if you didn't like Xander Schauffele, you can change it yourself, like to 20%. I do have an ownership tab down here that goes over all the max, like the max ownership you want a golfer at, the min ownership. So like Xander Schauffele on here shows 7% for his minimum ownership, 38% for his max. I kind of like to use the middle. That's 17%. And I'm probably going to do that for a lot of these. I mean, it is kind of concerning that Morikawa's max is 10%, but that's okay. Maybe it's telling us not to play Morikawa, but I'm going to, because I like Morikawa. But yeah, I will grab like minimums for your 7K or your 6K and lower golfers here, or just golfers that are 6K and lower. I'll grab all these minimums and I'll actually copy this over to the optimizer. Start here at this 6K range here and just paste in the values and go from there. Because I don't want to own 6Ks at a high clip. I want this to be relatively low. So you can see there's some zeros in there. Again, you can go through and you can change them how you want them. But that's basically how I use the optimizer. And again, you guys could use this. You just need the full version of Excel, Microsoft Excel. You can't use a reader program. You can't put it on Google Sheets, unfortunately. You can't do any of that. You need the full version of Microsoft Excel in order to run it. So yeah, that's it for the strategy video. I think my favorite play it's probably Dustin Johnson, if I'm being honest. I was going to say I like Colin Morikawa, but seeing how the buckets are kind of, or like the optimizer is creating lineups for me, I just don't know. I'm very skeptical about Victor Hovland. I just don't know if he's played too much golf and he's been at the top of the leaderboard too often. Like, I don't know if that's easy golf for him or if that was difficult golf. If it's difficult, I could see him, you know, burning out sooner rather than later. I don't know if it's going to be here at the Valspar, but this is going to be a tough tournament. So it's going to be really, I think it's going to be hard to repeat. But if Victor does repeat like another top 10 performance, this guy is dynamite. Like, it is insane for how bad his short game is. I mean, he's a good putter, so that mitigates some of his bad chipping issues. But like, being that good with bad short game it's impressive. I do like Sam Burns quite a bit. He shows up in the optimizer a lot. So does Louis Oosthuizen. Those are my top players. I'm not going to go through a bunch of these other ones. I like a lot of the names, but I just don't like to talk about names. Everybody in the industry does. Not that big of a deal to me. You know, like I can give you my opinion, but I rather let the buckets kind of do the work and put me on golfers that I do like, and then I can talk about them that way, which I did throughout this video. But yeah. The Players Championship was brutal. It was brutal because of the wind, the weather. This should be a little bit easier to predict. Golf is hard to predict no matter what. But I'm going to be more excited about building lineups using the optimizer this week than I was in the Players, because you had to figure out, you know, tee time splits, that kind of stuff. Who's getting the advantage, who isn't. This one I think is going to be a little bit more straightforward. So I think we're going to have a little bit more success. I don't have anything else to provide. Giveaways, obviously. Subscriber giveaway. I want to reward all my subscribers. So if you want a free entry into this, be subscribed, comment down below your 2 favorite golfers, and you'll be entered into this giveaway that I may or may not run Sunday. And then Prize Picks. You want to play this for free? Sign up using the promo code SweetSpot. Put $20 in your account, and I will refund you that $20. And then you'll have $40 in your account, because Prize Picks is going to match your deposit up to $100. That's available to you guys. The cheat sheets in the description. The how-to using the optimizer will also be in the description. I'll add that now. But yeah, other than that, look out for a prize picks video tomorrow, or maybe a little later today. I don't know. Haven't decided when I want to put that out there. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.